Let's have a quick look in the cash shop and see what mystical, fantastical things I can buy, and of course. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm Josh Hayes and I love MMORPGs. I've spent my life playing the best the genre has to offer, and now I'm looking the other way to try and find the absolute worst MMO of all time. Today, we'll be playing Rebirth Online. It's on Steam, it's free, and it's only 3 gigabytes. Now, while I was downloading it, I did some research on the developing company, Carrot Games. They've made one game, Rebirth M, a mobile MMO, but don't worry, I'm sure this version, Rebirth Online, is much, much better. Touch the screen to start. I spent some time caressing my screen and then just decided to click. Class selection, 4 classes, all gender specific, and is that the terror symbol? Okay, they're not exactly terror symbols, but they are far too close. I decided to go with a Slayer, male dual sword fighter, and the subtitles don't match up to the voice acted lines at all. Also, the voice acting sounds like a teenager trying to sound like an old man. Jesus, this script is bad. One of the lines was genuinely, "Then the 3 kingdoms closest to Verikan made a united fort against Verikan." I am dreading this game already. The game starts. It's a third-person fantasy MMO with action combat, and I'm instantly given 100,000 gold as a daily login bonus, and accepting it gives me the Let's Be Rich achievement. Oh, how I do enjoy working for things. Movement is standard WASD with spacebar as jump, but it only jumps when you release it, not when you press it. You can switch on the auto quest because, as we all know, the worst part of playing a game is having to actually play the game, and while the auto quest is on, moving doesn't cancel it. The game will forcefully pull you back to the quest path because it knows how you will have the most fun. During dialogue between anyone, you'll be on the right and the NPC you're talking to on the left, but you'll only see who's talking. Why? There's plenty of room, just load both models. Again, the game tells me to touch something, and I realise they've not localised this at all for PC. It's basically a direct port of the mobile game with a name change. I get given some items I don't care about and equip them instantly, then open the world map and see it's actually not terrible. It lists all the local enemies and you can click anywhere on the map to instantly move there. The early game, however, is a forced tutorial. You'll have these greyed out overlays added to introduce you to every single new system, and my god, are there a lot of systems. We will discover even more as we play. You've got to hold right click to move the camera, but pressing right click also resets your mouse cursor to the middle of the screen, so I hope you weren't planning on being able to move the camera and then quickly click on anything around the edge, because nope, that can't happen. In an interesting touch, it may be auto quest, but it's not auto combat. You can left click on an enemy to attack them or double click to attack until they're dead, but you won't actually use any skills or abilities or change targets. You also won't auto retaliate against anything, so you do actually have to be somewhat involved in combat. I then discover you can only hear your own sound effects, and standing by another player even when they're in combat using skills and abilities is deadly quiet. I decide to do something that no one in this game has ever done before and actually read the quest dialogue, and I'm happy I did because the writing is absolutely appalling. Each interaction reads like really bad fanfiction. Every character seems closed off and insular. Everyone says, "Don't worry about it," and "Never mind," whenever asked what they're actually thinking or feeling, because everyone is dark and brooding. As is standard in fantasy games, I spent the first 30 minutes helping out the local townsfolk because everyone is utterly incompetent and no one can walk the 10 steps to talk to anyone else, and then somehow I'm level 19. We're given a quest tutorial and told that NPCs with yellow exclamation marks above their heads have quests for us. That's actually a really good way of signifying something. It's amazing that no other game has thought of that before. More tutorials, and we're taken through so many sub-menus. Honestly, you have to open the overlay menu, and then the inventory menu, then the equip menu, then the upgrade menu, then the charge menu. There are way too many systems being thrown at me already. So we're assigned to go and kill some wolves, and the abilities we have are suitably flashy, and the cooldowns are pretty quick, but as with most mobile ports, combat feels so shallow. The enemy attacks have no real weight. Every enemy just stands around waiting to be attacked, and you don't need any real strategy, so as always with new games like this, I decide to see if I can die. Now, one wolf has no chance of taking me down, so I aggro the whole lot and then see what happens, which brings us on to the potion system. You've got your health and your mana bars as standard, but you've also got a massive supply of potions. You can have several thousand potions and you can assign them to be auto-used whenever your health hits a threshold. It's set to 50% by default. So as these walls hit me, I'm just automatically recovering all my lost health, and you start with 200 health potions, so in the early stages it's basically impossible to die. These wolves are the opposite of the life is feudal wolf. While that was far too deadly, these are basically pointless. The next quest had me gathering stuff, so I gather 2 things and then the gathering tutorial pops up, which is interesting because I've never seen a tutorial happen after the thing you're meant to do. I hopped into the settings to see what I could actually change. I checked the graphics and, ironically, there's a major graphical glitch on the graphics page. Some words are too long and overlap onto the next line. Also, while exploring the controls, I discovered there's no button for auto run. Normally I'd assign a key to move forward constantly and save having to hold down the W key, but I guess today we're just holding down W. Now normally the camera follows a strict stay above ground policy, but if you're on a cliff, a hill, a slight incline, or really anywhere the game feels like, you can clip the camera underground, behind buildings, and through trees. Doing this will sometimes overwrite your character or the enemy models too, so if you want to play the game in upside down mode, you can. Along with the terrible camera clipping, every area is hemmed in by invisible walls. You'll often bump into nothing, but to its credit, I did spend a good deal of time trying to boundary break. They've got these areas pretty well locked down. Now combat works like this: talk to an NPC, get given a certain enemy to kill, go and kill it. The enemy type you need to kill will be ringed with a yellow ground marker, and every enemy of the exact type will always be grouped together, and every single one of your attacks has a cleave effect, meaning you can group everything together and burn everything down at once. The combat is worse than bad. It's boring. At least with a buggy, glitchy game, there's a wicked level of humour and fun to be found in exploiting it and laughing at it. This is just forgetful. Also, somehow I'm now level 30. I've been playing for about 30 minutes or so I decided to check out the auto quest feature. Usually these are added for people who want to have the game play itself in the background. Now I can't complain, I've got old school RuneScape on the second monitor right now. The auto quest system walks you to the NPC you actually need to talk to or takes you to the enemy you need to fight, but it doesn't automatically progress through conversations, and neither does spacebar apparently. You have to left click. And it doesn't auto combat, which makes me question, what is the point? The point of an autoplay system is to, autoplay. This is the worst of both worlds. You have all of the exploration removed from you, and you still have to control the incredibly dull conversations and the incredibly dull combat. Now, the next quest may just be a throwaway leveling quest, but when you analyze it, it actually involves the most overpowered magic spell ever. This quest sees us transform into a demon. Not just any demon, an exact copy of the Goblin's commanding officer, and infiltrate their ranks. If you have access to transformation magic like this, how have you ever lost a fight, or an election, or anything? The ability to just transform into a high-ranking enemy general at will has to be the most overpowered spy skill ever. But it doesn't change your character dialogue model because that would be expensive. What are these guards even doing? I'm disguised as an enemy general. They have no idea this is a setup and they're just letting me walk around in their base. Why do you even have guards? The disguise plan fails because a goblin recognizes me, so I just instead kill a load of goblins, and then these 2 guards just stroll along while I'm doing it. Why did you program this into the game? We're now taught about mounts, pets, and transforming. We're also given a free mount, a strange-looking pet, and the ability to transform into a basic enemy. Doing so will remove all of our abilities and replace them with the enemy's abilities, which are much worse, so there's no reason to do this. Also, the game explains that as we get better, the increase rate increases. That's right, the increase rate will itself increase. And oh god, whenever you get onto the mount, the camera decides it's drunk. It lists off to the side and slides around whenever you ride. It feels like it's attached to you with an elastic band and gets pulled along for the ride. About an hour in and I've only used 11 of the original 200 health potions. While auto-questing from place to place, I then discover teleport scrolls, items you can spend to skip the actual journey and go directly wherever it is you need to go, which is brilliant because now I can play even less of the game while I play the game. This priestess gives me a how to talk to NPCs tutorial, which would have been handy before I'd been, talking to NPCs for the last hour. Touch the NPC. Then I managed to glitch the tutorial. See, the tutorials need you to click to open the overlay menu, but I already had the overlay menu open, so when I clicked it as part of the tutorial, it actually closed it. Not quite knowing what to do, the tutorial just gives up. I have 18 teleport scrolls left. That's 18 times I can skip the game playing itself. It feels really passive-aggressive, like I'm annoyed that the game has removed gameplay from me so I can remove gameplay from the game. As I've been leveling, I've been learning new skills and abilities. Everything is added to this hotbar down here, and now I have an ultimate attack. You know it's powerful because all the scenery goes black and every enemy close by takes massive damage, apart from the times they don't and are absolutely fine. Then I discover the player versus player settings, which are actually pretty damn clever. You can set it to be peaceful, attack others, only attack others who attacked you, or only attack others who are set to attack others. That's actually pretty nifty. In the new map area, I spent some time trying to boundary break and instead discovered that some objects in the game just forgot to have any collision detection. You can run right through some barricades and most of the rocks. This fully armoured trained knight then asks me to go and kill some gnolls that are directly in front of him, which I easily do, and then he says to me, "You're getting stronger every time I see you." Mate, this is the second time we've talked. You've seen me twice. You've been watching me the entire time I've been killing the gnolls. They are literally right in front of you. Then, something actually interesting happens. I got 99 strength on RuneScape. Back to, what was this game even called again? Rebirth. No enemy seems bothered about me. There's no native aggro from anything. You can spend 10 minutes slaughtering everything and then just casually stroll through and no one bats an eyelid. I'm about 2 hours into the game at this point and the gameplay loop hasn't changed. Talk to NPC, kill number of specific enemy, talk to another NPC, kill more enemies, and the layout is always the same. You'll have 2 or 3 quest givers, then a linear path of enemies with group A, B and C. You'll kill group A, report to quest giver, they give you B to go and kill B, report, they'll give you C to go and kill C, report, then move on to another area and repeat. We're off to the old castle to kill something. I've stopped reading quest descriptions and the camera continues to suck. Thankfully, that's all made better when we get to talk to Conrad, who does this brilliant arm-raising animation every single time he says anything, and it just reminds me of the Emperor from Star Wars. Palpatine tells us to kill us some monsters that look like bats that are named, I shit you not, bat monsters. Now, I'm not saying everything needs a fantasy-sounding name, but good god, Bat Monster? Come on. Finally, I'm far enough into the game to unlock dungeons. Now, I'm a massive PvE fan, so I'm hoping these are good. Each dungeon seems to have a 10-minute time limit and is a linear path from start to the end boss. You'll have to kill each mob of enemies before the next section opens up. And can we take a moment to talk about architecture? This is a reinforced double door built inside a dungeon. How on earth is it opening onto a sheer slope? Right, poor design choices aside, I reach the dungeon boss and he promises to take me to death. After playing this game, I'm absolutely ready to take him up on the offer, so I actually go and do some housework for a while and let him wail on me to see if he can actually kill me. The dungeon times out before he can. Housework done, and as the dungeon is my main quest, I actually do need to do it. So I head back in, start attacking the final boss, and then I find out you can't circle strafe because your attack animation requires you to stand still, and then I die. Now my healing potions did kick in, but his attacks were so powerful they managed to out-damage the healing. Okay, interesting, I honestly did not expect that. So back in we go, heal up before the fight, run away from the larger attacks and actually play carefully this time and win. Oh, also the first time you do a dungeon every day, you're 100% guaranteed a drop, and then every subsequent attempt halves that chance. So as I'd essentially failed twice, I only had a 25% drop chance. Palpatine is proud of me for killing the big bad, then the local villagers all call me a hero and send me off to save another region. The game tries to explain the local, area and then world map, but uses the most convoluted, complex way possible to do this, and suddenly I'm level 81. Look, I'm gonna level with you, I want to stop playing. This game is awful. There are systems within systems within systems that are all essentially leveled by buying premium currency. Every single quest is a palette-swapped version of the previous one, the writing is awful, every single NPC is Ebony Darkness Dementia Raven Way, the combat isn't engaging in any way, and I think even having this game installed on my PC is making other MMORPGs on it worse. But I am a professional and I'm doing this so you don't have to. So I've got two goals: play for 6 hours and reach level 200. So here we go. This NPC for some reason has a country accent, and hang on, in your glasses, that reflection, is that a sweet roll? The loading screen tells me if I play as this class, I will have a dynamic. A dynamic what? Oh, just a dynamic. Okay, game, thanks. In this new region, I'm excited to find new and interesting enemies to kill, so when I'm assigned to kill swamp bears, I know the palette swapping is about to begin. For those of you unfamiliar with palette swapping, it's when a developer uses exactly the same model but changes the color palette. We're then given a transform tutorial and I'm taught how to become a gnoll, which basically gives me far weaker attacks, so why would I ever do this? Also, gnolls seem to have exactly one sound effect and they will use it every chance they get. Just have a listen. Now, some quests end in a choice, but the choice is always, would you like the next quest to be collecting something or killing something? I think about flipping a coin to decide, but then realise that would be more fun than the game, so I just pick randomly. I do have to say, it's kind of neat how the enemies have organised themselves into little groups. It makes killing the right ones much easier. But why are all the captains together? The point of a captain is to be put in charge of lower ranks. Why would you put all the captains together at the back? Okay, you know what, game? It doesn't matter. I'm letting the game get to me. Just gotta play it for a few more hours and not let it get to me. Got to say, I'm really loving how my ultimate attack takes a while to charge up and is super powerful, but sometimes just completely misses for no reason. Another tutorial for another system, disassembling this time. Apparently you get to break down items into things and then use things to make better items. I look forward to never using this system. Can we take another moment to talk about architecture again? The angle of those arrows in the side of that barricade would indicate they are being fired from both below and from just on the other side of the road, which is the dumbest thing ever as there are no enemies that way. These enemies are called pans, and while I'm happy to have something different to look at, it just makes it apparent how lazy the enemy placement is. Design a single enemy, copy and paste it 20 times, and job done. 30 minutes pass, and then apparently I'm introduced to crafting. That's a different system to upgrading or disassembly or creation, somehow. I've also noticed the number of enemies I need to kill on each quest is slowly creeping up. It started with like 10 wolves and now we're creeping into the 20s. It's an artificial way of extending the game's length, and I can see you doing it, game. I keep thinking my mouse is broken, then I discover another mobile to PC localization they forgot. This game doesn't register clicks that are too close to an edge. If you click within the red area, the game just doesn't register anything at all, because on mobile that would have been the top or bottom of the screen where you hold the phone. Now while I'm playing, I keep notes of these games so I can write the script after, and around here I've just written Swamp Lichen, I'm bored now. There's just nothing here. No system feels substantial, no attacks feel powerful, no enemy feels dangerous, no quest feels important. This game feels hollow. This game is like the second bowl of cereal. It always looks good, but it just leaves you feeling unhappy. I'm told to kill some Cyclopses and the plot moves forward. Probably. We travel to another area, this one has snow, and I'm really hoping they use the change in climate to introduce some new enemy types, not just palette swap the old enemies into white. We meet and speak to the leader of the Snowy Keep, and I have but one question for you. Where are your nipples? I leave the castle and then I actually get super excited to see this tower because those platforms are just screaming parkour, hidden secret, jumping puzzle, and I am so ready for some platforming action. But no, it's an invisible wall. Again, there is no hidden secret. The first enemy in the frosty area is a dire wolf, a frosty version of the first enemy. This game really likes using the wolf model. I'm guessing this model was the first one they designed and now they feel the need to use it as often as they can. Or they actually paid money for this one. Leonard, what on earth is your staff? Is that one of those ceremonial gong hitter things? The quests have now increased from 10 to 26 enemies and they're taking quite a bit longer to finish, so let's explore the cash shop. If I like the game enough, what could I drop some real world money on? Now it's a fantasy game, so I'm hoping they're keeping it fantasy. Okay, the first outfit is a homage to Bruce Lee, his famous yellow and black jumpsuit. Okay, I can get behind this as long as the rest of the outfits are just as tasteful. It seems I spoke too soon. I spoke way too soon. At this point in the game, I'm losing the will to live. Every minute I play for, I can feel myself hating the entire genre more and more, but we must press on. I'm aiming for 6 hours and level 200, and my god, I am going to get there. Combat is now so dull and repetitive, I wonder if I'll be able to finish it by just slamming the keyboard against my face. Yes, I can. The game auto-quests for a while and I spam click through conversations. Remember when the player actually mattered? When the person playing the game had enough agency and importance to the game that their input drove it forward. I skip most of the dialogue because it's awful and use a few teleport scrolls, and then suddenly I'm stealing wyvern eggs and the local wyverns just seem totally cool with me doing this. Then something interesting happens. I clearly bit off a bit more than I can chew, and I die. Now apparently outside of dungeons you get one free resurrection, then you've got to either pay or resurrect at a local healing post. So knowing the mobs are a bit more aggressive, I checked my potion levels and they're actually quite low. I wonder what would happen if I used all my potions up and then tried to kill the same mobs. Turns out I would die. Oddly, having no healing potions makes combat a lot more fun. It's much more challenging, but the gameplay has no real way to mitigate or avoid attacks, and the entire game is balanced around the idea that you've got constantly refilling health. So while it's fun, it's also impossible. When your potion slot is empty, clicking it opens the shop and you can spend in-game gold to buy them. Remember how I got given 100,000 gold just for logging in? Well, I drop 100k onto some health potions and suddenly I'm up to 1,000 level 2 potions. I am so tempted to quit playing here, but the 6-hour mark is only 2 hours away. Talk to an NPC, kill a mob. Talk to an NPC and kill a mob. Talk to an NPC and kill a mob. Repeat forever. Then I discover ghosts, the very first enemy to have an aggro range and to attack me unprovoked. This makes them so much easier to farm as they just wander into the range of all my skills. While I'm killing this corrupted pan, I realised I've not actually touched my keyboard in about 20 minutes. I just keep clicking and auto-travelling. Level 152, 48 levels left to go. Every single fight is exactly the same, but I'm being thorough. I'm trying to keep an open mind. I'm hoping in vain that some mechanic, some tactic, something comes along to change up this boredom. I then get a super handy equip tutorial. Little late game, I've had stuff equipped since level 1. Oh, the wolves are back, brilliant! I hadn't seen a wolf model for a good 30 minutes and I was beginning to think they'd forgotten about it. Frost Lycanthrope. Really? We're just taking every previous enemy and putting a prefix before their name now. While I'm playing this bit, I suddenly discover the perfect analogy for this game, and it might only make sense to me. The game is the anti-Factorio. Let me explain. Years ago, I bought a game called Factorio, a deceptively simple looking game with a supremely complex system underneath. You build a factory and try to build a spaceship. Now, Factorio looked simple, but was really super deep and involved. Rebirth looks deep and involved and is actually super simple. Factorio didn't do anything for you at all, and you were responsible for pretty much everything. In Rebirth, you're responsible for pretty much nothing, and the game is willing to do everything for you. And the most important part, with Factorio, I lost track of time. 6 hours felt like 5 minutes, and I had to actively stop myself from playing. Rebirth, however, 5 minutes feels like 6 hours, and I'm having to force myself to sit here and continue playing. So in my mind, Rebirth is the exact opposite of Factorio. The next enemy in the next quest is another palette-swapped version of a previous enemy, because of course it is, and also the quests have increased to 29 kills now. The world chat then perfectly reflects my inner monologue. I spend some time questioning while I'm still playing when suddenly... sound effects. Just listen. I suppose if you can only afford to record one single syllable, then by God you're going to make sure that syllable gets used a lot. In this small section of the game, I've had to kill 30 types of one demon, then 30 types of another, then another, then another. I've killed 4 versions of a demon 30 times each, and every fight, melee, mage, and range, has been exactly the same. This cutscene of a ghost girl being reunited with her parents is supposed to be deep and emotional, but it is ruined because the sound mixing accidentally made her say the same voice line twice. Okay, now quick quiz. Remember the bat monster from earlier, and now we're in a frost area? What do you think it's going to be called now? Did you say frost bat monster? Because you're correct. Also, I need to kill 32 of them. I then bump into a wandering world boss who is apparently very tough and takes a team to kill, so I die again and resurrect again. Small nitpick game, before you release your game on Steam, do some spell checking, because you're currently asking me to de-eat an enemy. Also, when I open the dungeon menu, I can click the button to access. This is the second dungeon, another story quest and another linear path to the final boss. Also, the first enemy mob I fight are skeletons, exactly like the first dungeon. As there aren't any diegetic large wooden gates to pop open this time after the mob dies, the game instead goes for a more Devil May Cry red glowing energy wall approach. And when I destroy this carriage and spawn the boss, why have the ellipses in your battle quote been moved up to the centre of the text instead of in line with the base? God damn, this boss isn't messing around. Alright, I've got to focus on this guy. He's killed me. Right, back in we go. Let's rush to the end and, damn. God damn, I just died to a mob. Okay, maybe, and I hate to say this, maybe I need to prepare a little. So I go into all the systems, I level my equipment up, I upgrade, I spend every type of currency I have. I don't even know where some of this stuff came from or what it does, but I know the numbers are higher. Slowly but surely I increase my HP pool, my damage and my defense. I am ready for another attempt. I've even used the crafting system to craft my healing potions into better healing potions. So I begin the dungeon again and something happens for the first time. I run out of mana, meaning I can't use my abilities anymore. Now I consider playing tactically, luring out an enemy one at a time, taking on small groups, maybe read up on what my attacks actually do, but then I think, nah, I'm on a 10-minute timer, I'll just go to the shop, spend my final few bits of in-game gold on mana potions. Now I'm more prepared, I'm actually able to clear out the mobs and defeat the boss, and I don't like admitting that it took some planning, but it actually did. Also, I'm level 192, so close! A loading screen then lets me know that the word best item is one word now. Nipples thanks me and takes me to level 195. Then there's an endless amount of talking, of going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth from every NPC in this stupid castle until finally I am able to reach level 200 and do something I've wanted to do for the last 6 hours. So what have we learned? Mobile MMOs can be fine. They fill a niche and they have a certain target demographic. Some are even pretty good. But porting a mobile game to Steam, not changing a damn thing and calling yourself a full MMORPG is just scummy. So don't waste the 3 GB of space on this game. To end this video, I rate Rebirth Online, whatever the hell this is, out of 10. Cheers for watching. If you want more worst MMO ever videos, then drop a like or sub to the channel. A massive thanks to my Patreon supporters and Twitch subs who make all my videos possible, and comment down below with any game you think deserves the title of worst MMO ever. Check the video description for links to the Patreon, Twitch, Twitter and Discord, and as always, have a great day.